One. Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and special edition with my pal, my buddy, Frank J. Lopes. And,
Jim, I don't know what it is. Every time we start to do a live stream and you do your little countdown, I start giggling like a little schoolgirl over here. It's like I don't know
Five,
why.
Four,
and
three,
then I'm like,
two,
I start laughing right away, like some kind of a jerk.
Oh, we got all kinds of stuff happening, and I usually don't do these in the evening. Now, Frank, did you jump off on me? What have you done here, big guy? I'm talking to my friend Frank J. Lopes, and all of a sudden, Frank J. disappeared on me. Now Frank's back.
Can you hear me?
Frank. Yeah, I hear you sound like the Verizon guy. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? He's
the Verizon guy now.
Yeah, I was going to say the Verizon guy is actually the Sprint guy now.
Yeah, well,
he can't.
That's a double cross.
He can't seem to figure out where his loyalties are either, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like CarGurus.
Kind of a little bit like CarGurus. That story sounds kind of familiar, right?
I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with CarGurus. Are they guilty? Are they not guilty? Are they innocent? And I got my opinion. I think it's a big old steamy pile of poo, to be real honest with you.
Well, you know what? What a better way to start off the show than to talk about the most relative and news breaking, I guess, thing that's happened in automotive so far this year. The allegations of CarGurus with their selling leads to Carvana and doing all kinds of shadiness and shenanigans allegedly and stuff. And, from what I see so far, this does not look good in any way, shape, or form. For CarGurus. Jim, what's your take so far?
So far, I have been a big fan, a big advocate. I have really said that CarGurus, in my opinion, in most markets, and now I'm talking to literally hundreds, if not thousands, of dealers and dealership employees a week, most of the time. And from what I've heard, in most markets, CarGurus is dominant as far as results.
Yes, absolutely.
But most recently, more than Cars.com, more than Auto Trader, more than Edmunds, more than any of those people, I'm hearing that CarGurus. Hey, oh, by the way, let me go ahead and do a little housekeeping here before we get too far into this. And
do you share?
I'm gonna share this on a couple other platforms. I've got all kinds of places I can put this broadcast. Just give me a second or two here, Frank, before we get into the real deep content.
Well, Jim, don't be selfish now. Share it out to all the things. And hey, if you're watching live, or even if you're watching this on the replay, don't forget, hit the share button right now. Jim and I are going to be chopping it up super fine tonight about the CarGurus issue and about any other. Who knows where the conversation is going to go? But the one thing I can guarantee everybody who's watching is that it's going to be a worthwhile conversation, and it's going to be a conversation that everyone is going to want to watch and going to want to learn from. So please hit that share button right now if you can, and also during the show, if you have any comments or anything, please put the comments in. Both Jim and I can see your comments right here on the side of the screen because of Jim's fancy new high-tech streaming software. So please put your comments in there.
So far, Melissa Skinner's already shared this.
Thank you, Melissa.
I got Melissa Skinner. She's already shared it. Stephen James Ernestas, he's on. We're starting to pick up a little audience. Give them a minute or two,
Definitely, Jim. You should
absolutely loving it.
You should sing to pass the time, Jim.
Guest today, Mr. Frank J. Lowe. What's the J?
The J is for Jose, which is actually Joseph in Portuguese.
I should sing.
You should sing. You should sing.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Johnny Cash.
Did you ever meet Johnny? Did you ever meet Johnny Cash when you were a radio DJ or no?
Man.
Did
I
you
never
hear
got
me?
to meet Johnny. Johnny was always one of my favorites.
No.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. Yeah, I got to meet Elvis. Now that was the highlight of my career. I had several times when I actually had 1 hour conversations with Elvis Presley one-on-one, nobody else in the room.
Really? What did you guys talk about?
You there, big guy?
Yeah. Yeah. What did you guys talk about?
This was 1965 and 1960. So I'm trying to remember because we were sitting on a fireplace at the dormitory at Memphis State University, where I was briefly attending school before I got summarily thrown out by the dean. That's another story in itself. Yeah. But Memphis State University, 1965, 1966, it was December and it was January. Elvis we were talking about Las Vegas because he was just getting ready to do Vegas. He had just done some movies. He'd gotten out of the Army. We talked about Army life. We talked about a number of things. The thing about Elvis was in that period of time, he could walk the streets. I mean, it was not like he wasn't famous. He was very famous, but the Beatles and all well, they recognized him, but the British invasion had started. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all the British groups were the rage. And Elvis was sort of a big deal, but he wasn't as big a deal as he later became after his comeback. So I met Elvis between the time he got out of the Army. He was making movies. He was famous, but he had lost a lot of his popularity and people would throng around him, but then they would go away from him. They wouldn't hang with him. I hope I'm making good sense. When I met Elvis,
yes, you are.
He was popular, but he wasn't as popular as in 1969 or 68. He did a leather jacket special on television, sponsored by the Singer sewing machine company called the Singer Specials. And when Elvis did the leather jacket shows, he did like 4 of them. He instantly became world famous again and reached previous popularity. Then he did the early 70s. He did the first national satellite broadcast live via satellite, where he wore the white outfit with all the rhinestones in it and the cape. And then he became super popular again. I loved going to an Elvis show. It was absolutely phenomenal. 20 performers on stage. He had that little girl, Kathy Westmoreland, with the long hair that would hit the high notes, like in Suspicious Minds. And you can hear in the background, and J.D. Stamp's quartet. Elvis was such a show to see because there was so much happening on stage at the same time. If you've seen an Eagles concert, you got 7 guys and you think you got all the activity in the world with Walsh playing and everything. But when you saw an Elvis show, you got 20 performers on stage. It was absolutely phenomenal.
All at once, right?
But yeah, I met Elvis. I met a lot of the stars of that generation. I don't know if you remember Peter and Gordon.
No, I don't know.
Your World Without Love. Yeah, before your time. Anyway, Gordon Waller was a friend of mine of Peter and Gordon. To this day, I'm still friends with Peter Noon, Herman's Hermits.
Mm-hmm. Peter Noon, I've heard of.
He actually, Peter Noon still lives in Santa Barbara, California. He's, and he's doing a lot of stuff on XM radio. So I met a lot of the stars of that generation, but Elvis was a big deal to me to have had a one-on-one conversation with Elvis on 3 different occasions.
Well,
I think we're building a little audience here now. Okay.
I think
Glenn
so.
Bockwinkel. Hey, do you know Glenn Bockwinkel?
No. Unfortunately, I don't.
Glenn Bockwinkel is a car dealer, and his brother, now deceased, I was a big fan, was a professional wrestler.
Oh, really? Oh, Bruce Bockwinkel?
Yeah.
Is that it? I can remember.
Hey, Glenn, what was your brother's first name? Help me out. Glenn's on the sidebar there. I'm looking at him right now.
I see him. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, Abe from Mississippi, Randy Tucker. Elvis was cool. Yes, he was. Okay, well, let's start getting back on subject a little bit. We've been chatting a little bit about things that have nothing to do with the subject.
Well,
you just go ahead.
No, I was going to say you were talking about stars before, but it looks like we may see a star fall now.
Okay, well, anyway, the subject of the show is lead providers, vendors in general. The scandal this week with CarGurus hit me by surprise. I started to say earlier, I have been a big fan of CarGurus. I have been an advocate. Yep. I've told people, they've been featured at my internet battle plan shows. They've been on my stage. They've sponsored the event, and you don't have enough money to be a sponsor at one of my events if I think you're disreputable. So when somebody sponsored my event, I'm in effect endorsing them. And I've told people that, in my opinion, CarGurus was outperforming a lot of the other vendors. But most recently, we've seen those results start to fall. We've seen less ROI, and their pricing has gotten slap ass crazy. I mean, CarGurus, and not just CarGurus, I'm talking about Auto Trader, all of them have jacked their prices up far beyond reasonability, and everybody's talking about attribution. And honestly, Trump's always talking about fake news. Well, I'm always talking about fake attribution. There's a lot of fake. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, attribution is when a vendor tells you that even though they didn't come to you directly from that vendor, they didn't serve you up that lead, they attributed to the sale because people got information off of their website and they influenced your sale. So therefore they're responsible for it. Well, attribution is a very real science. But as Ziegler has said many times, figures lie when liars figure.
This is Frank,
true. Okay, the allegations we're seeing, the blogosphere went crazy this week. I'm talking about at NADA and after NADA, the rumor mill just went nuts that CarGurus was serving up dealers' customers to Carvana. And some of the markets we're talking about, rural markets where there's not a Carvana location within 100 miles, and still in all they're treating them like one of the local dealers. This is what we're hearing. And we're hearing that the little badges and emblems that Carvana put on dealers' websites were actually serving up your customers, your leads to other competitors, including and especially Carvana. Now, Frank, what are you hearing?
Well, Jim, so far I've heard the exact same thing. The exact same thing that you said, that if a customer is searching in a rural area and there's no vehicles that are close by, they're serving up Carvana vehicles. I've also heard about the badges that go on the website. Just those badges I have never allowed on any of our dealers, any of our dealer partners, dealer clients' websites. About a year ago, they started popping up, and as we saw them, we started taking them down, mostly because of just suspicious intentions and suspicious codes. And I don't like unauthorized.
So you started
badges.
taking them down a long time ago.
You
started taking them down a long time ago.
A long time ago, Jim. Over a year ago, when they started popping up.
Tell people what FB marketing does. Who you are, what you're all about.
Right. So anyone who doesn't know who I am, introduce myself. My name is Frank J. Lopes. I'm the #1 sales and marketing strategist in automotive. I'm vice president of FB Digital, which is a digital advertising and marketing company, but we also get very involved in sales strategy, both on digital and on traditional lead handling, in-store sales, and and processes in all of our stores. We have dealerships all across the country. I personally work with about 35 dealers at any given time, doing the things that we talked about before. And one of the biggest parts of the services that we provide is managing a dealer's website, optimizing it for conversion, and making sure that the dealer's sales strategy and sales process starts on the website. So that's why I was saying earlier that about a year and a half ago, I had noticed these CarGurus, good deal, great deal, little badges starting to appear on our dealers' websites, on SRP pages and on VDP pages. And I immediately started to investigate them and saw that there was some shenanigans going on. And I had them all removed over a year ago. And even yesterday, we did a complete clean sweep on all of our dealer partners' websites of any type of code or any type of strings of code or anything that would be on the website from CarGurus. And even after having removed all those badges and banners over the last year or so, we still found 3 dealerships that had code buried in their website. When we asked the website service providers where this code came from, they were just like, I don't know.
You've actually seen the code.
I've seen the code on the websites and removed it. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the banners as well.
Now, what I'm hearing from other dealers, and they're telling me that the CarGurus' official word on this is that they were running a test pilot program, which once again sounds like a big pile of steamy poo to me, but still in all, they're running a test pilot program. And this test pilot program that they were allegedly running involved Carvana offering to buy the trade-in. And so they were serving up the dealers' leads to Carvana to allegedly let them make a buy on the trade-in. That's the way I understand it. Now,
that's the way. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Frank.
I was going to say that's exactly the way I understand it as well. And I've got to call shenanigans on that. And let me, before I start to talk about that with the trade-in thing, let me go on the record of saying that over the last 3 years or so, since CarGurus has been prevalent in our market, I have been a huge supporter of CarGurus. I've been working with all of our dealer partners to optimize those opportunities. And like you said in the beginning of the show, Jim, there were many times, and even up to last month, there were many times when the quantity of leads that were coming in from CarGurus in dealerships, not only did it exceed other third-party inventory listing websites, not only did it exceed, but at times the quantity was more than all of the other inventory listing websites combined together. So I was a huge advocate of it. I'm still an advocate of it until everything is 100% certain that there's some shady stuff going on, or that there's something that's going on that's not in the best interest of dealers. But right now, tonight, it looks, looking from the outside in, I removed all that code yesterday because I'd rather be safe than sorry of hearing of something else going on. And honestly, it's a shame that today, with the amount of money that dealers have been investing in CarGurus over the last few years, everybody knows the sales tactic that was used to create dealer awareness of CarGurus. Everybody knows that they let dealers put their inventory on their websites for free. They would deliver the ads, but they would deliver the leads, but the leads, you would not get the full lead. You would get no phone number, and you would not get the customer's direct email address. You would get a CarGurus email address to talk to be able to talk to the customer and whatnot in the beginning. And then when you paid, then you got full leads after that. So, it's not a fact right now to talk about the way that they built up their dealer clientele or anything like that. Now it's an issue of, of the shenanigans that we've heard about over the last few days. Number one, probably the biggest one with them giving lead information over to Carvana, and Carvana soliciting people who sent in leads on specific vehicles, soliciting them to buy their current vehicle, to buy their current trade-in. I mean, this seems to be true. There's been multiple screenshots and multiple instances of people saying that it's happened and showing that it's happened. And, if this comes out that it's 100% true, I mean, shame on CarGurus. There's got to be some type of, I would assume, maybe not, there's some type of a privacy issue here where a customer is submitting an inquiry on a particular car, and then that inquiry is getting sold off to somebody else. I'm sure there's a 6-point disclaimer in the back end of the user agreement, on the CarGurus website or something. But you know what? Car dealers don't care about 7-point disclaimers on user agreements. They care about trust, and they care about being upfront, and they care about the money that they're investing in advertising, that it being spent properly and allocated properly. And if all these allegations are true, I will be recommending to every one of our dealer partners to not advertise with them anymore, especially if the leads that customers are submitting are also getting sent, to other dealers, or whether it's Carvana or whether it's Joe Blow Motors down the street. It doesn't matter. If the dealer is not aware that this is going on, then it's unfair and it's shenanigans, and it shows a level of mistrust.
Well, I got to tell you now, not just CarGurus. There are other vendors that are guilty of funneling your leads elsewhere. And I'm not going to say cars.com. I'm not going to say Auto Trader, but I'm going to say that I'm going to say that syndication is probably one of the biggest traps that dealers fall into in the business today, Cars.com was the first one I became aware that was syndicating a lot of the dealer's inventory to different websites. Now, for those who are not familiar with what I'm talking about, syndicating is when any vendor, puts your inventory on a series of websites scattered around the web. Now, on first blush, boy, they're advertising me in a lot of different places. But unfortunately, a lot of those little websites they're putting your inventory on are what I call little pissant pirate websites. And these little pissant pirate websites are there for one reason: to steal your customers and your inventory. Now, let's pretend it's cars.com. And I'm not saying it is cars.com. I'm saying I'm going to use them as an example. Say cars.com has got your inventory on some website that they're remotely affiliated with, and there's some money that goes back and forth. Okay, so that little alleged pissant website's got your inventory on it, and they click on your car. So the little pissant website that is not affiliated directly with the parent company, they got your lead and they send it to cars.com or whoever it is, and they do serve you the lead. You get the lead. But what else they do with the lead might surprise you. I have caught some of these websites actually contacting the customer and saying, look, we saw the car that you submitted a lead on, and we don't have that car anymore. It's sold, but we have similar cars to sell you, which is what Carvana has been accused of doing with CarGurus, where they're not just contacting the customer allegedly. They're not allegedly contacting the customer. They're saying to the customer, well, that car's been sold, but we have one similar to it. And the allegations that I'm seeing all over the web right now is that Carvana is mounting an aggressive campaign to sell those people off of the dealer's car onto their own cars. That's what I'm hearing. Now, CarGurus is having a big conference this week. You're going to do a webinar Friday, and I'm going to be on that webinar. I'm inviting everybody to tune into that webinar. Let's hear their side of it. But
Jim, what time is that? What time is that webinar? So everybody knows.
I don't know. It's not difficult to find, and I promise you, there's a bunch of their people watching this broadcast. If you want to know what that is, they'll definitely get you that information. Nick Bockwinkel was Glenn's brother. Just came to me. Nick was a wrestler with great hair. I mean, just you can relate to that, Now, Glenn Bockwinkel is a car dealer, and his brother Nick. I was a fan of his. Oh my golly, back in the days of Dick Murdoch and the Great Malenko. I mean, my golly, I used to watch wrestling all the time.
Those guys are not from my time of wrestling, but look, it looks like dealers are going to have a very serious decision to wrestle with after tomorrow.
You tied that right in.
That was pretty good, right?
Brilliant.
That's pretty. I'm getting good. I'm getting good at this whole interview thing, Jim. I don't know if you noticed. I did 31 live interviews at NADA. I had so many fantastic guests on during the 3 days of NADA. So I'm getting a little good with the quips and with the with the tie-ins and things like that. But getting back to seriousness,
that's good to hear.
Getting back to seriousness, dealers are going to have to wrestle with this decision now. It's one thing. Look, it's one thing when the lead provider is upfront with the way that the lead's going to be distributed and the way that your vehicle is going to be distributed. For example, a lot of people were upset over years past at TrueCar about the fact that every time a customer would potential customer would go on to TrueCar.com, that they would see the prices from 3 different dealers. But it was always that way. It wasn't like a switcheroo one day. It wasn't the type of thing.
Way. It's still that way.
Exactly.
All these, that's where me and Cars.com fell out originally, is when they started putting 5 different dealers with similar cars on the same VDP that the dealer paid for. And they were serving up 5 additional dealers, and while the initial dealer that got the click was still working on the deal, here's Cars.com serving up 5 additional dealers.
Right. And then remarketing that customer later on with cars that did not belong to the dealer that they submitted a lead on. I mean, the amount of shenanigans, honestly, that goes on with these third-party inventory listing sites at times, it can definitely be something that it can keep you up at night. And I know that it does keep a lot of dealers up at night because it's a double-edged sword, whereas they don't want to lose the exposure on their vehicles, especially off-brand vehicles that they have in inventory, that they may not get as many looks on their own website, that they can't really compete as aggressively as a third-party inventory listing site on a Google search or anything like that. So they go and they succumb and they spend the money and they list all their cars on the third-party sites. But at the same time, there's got to be a certain level of responsibility and integrity on that listing provider to do the right thing by the dealer who is paying them to list their cars on their on their website. That there does have to be a certain
let me get back to what I was talking about earlier. The little pissant pirate websites, they call it syndication.
Go back to that.
I'd like every dealer watching this broadcast to do a test. I call it the VIN Google test. I want you to go on your own website and get a dozen of your pre-owned vehicle VIN numbers, the 17-digit serial number, VIN number of the vehicle. Get a dozen of them. I want you to go to Google and one at a time, just put that VIN number into Google. Don't put anything but that VIN number. And it'll show you how many times your car is on these little pissant pirate websites, and probably on some good sites too, but on these little pissant pirate websites. And you're going to be amazed. I've seen dealers that found out their cars are on 300 sites. I mean, and click on one of them, and if it allows you to put in a lead on your own unit, put in a lead using your own cell phone number and your own private email address, not the dealer phone number, not the dealer website or email address. Use your own email address, your own cell phone number, and put a lead in on that little pissant pirate website and see who calls you or emails you. And you're going to be amazed how many times you're going to get a call or an email. We don't have that car anymore, but we have a similar unit. We have several similar units, and they try to switch you off the dealer's unit to another one. So people tell me, well, Jim, we got free listing with CarGurus. Now, this just pisses me off when I hear this. There are some morons out there and some smart people too that are just deceived. But there are some people out there that think, well, I'm getting free leads, free listings on my units on CarGurus. Why do you think they do that?
Yeah, free. Nothing's free.
Nothing's free. Are they using your inventory to bait and switch your customers to somebody else? I mean, we talked about the little badges on the VDPs, SRPs, but are they also switching your leads to Carvana or anybody else? I would, why are they giving you free listing on your inventory? Now, when Carvana first came out, they were accused of scraping inventory off of websites.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Yes.
And why do they do that? Why do they need that inventory? Because they're using it to divert your customers elsewhere. Is that what's happening? I don't know. But if it smells like a big stinky pile of poo, it might be a big steamy, sticky pile of poo. So anyway, you look at what's going on there. Put a dozen of your VIN numbers into Google. Google up your own VIN. See where your inventory is. Do you remember that? It's 9:00. You know where your kids are.
Yep, it's 9 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
It's 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Do you know where your inventory is?
Do you know where your VIN numbers are?
You know where your VIN numbers are.
Well, your VIN numbers are probably all over the internet on a whole bunch of different websites, and unfortunately, it could possibly be that your inventory is generating leads for other dealers. And Jim, like I was saying before, that's really the biggest problem with this whole thing. Once dealers started to see that their leads, the people that were submitting leads, were getting remarketed or getting contacted by Carvana with an effort to try to not to sell them the car that they sent the lead on, but on the other hand, to buy the vehicle that they're considering trading in. I mean, there's so much bad about this, Jim. There's so many angles of this are bad. It's not even funny. I mean, let's just take for account. Let's run a scenario. So let's take for account somebody goes onto CarGurus and submits a lead on a used vehicle, and then they're marketed to by Carvana with an offer to buy their current vehicle. So the customer doesn't, look, you got to think about this in reality. The general public, they don't really know. They don't know the difference one to the other. They just get a thing in their email that says, find out what your car's worth. We'll offer, I don't remember the exact text that it said, but, offer you cash for your car and come pick it up. And then the customer goes and, okay, I'll take a look at this. And they go and they type in, okay, I'm going to be trading in a 2011 GMC Yukon, and the price comes, and the price that they get, what do you think the customer is going to do with that price? They're going to take it and they're going to shop it against the dealer that they're looking to purchase the other vehicle, the newer vehicle from. So in essence, CarGurus is going and setting up a wedge and creating a potential problem for the dealer who's paying them to list their inventory by showing the trade to a whole different third party who we all know. Anybody who's a used car dealer and has gone to the auction and has been up bidding against a car on Carvana, they know that they lose 9 times out of 10 because Carvana just pays through the nose for the cars. Basically, their buyers walk around the lanes just like this the whole time with their ticket, with their number. They're like this, just walking around. I'll take it. So I've heard used car managers complain so many times that if there's a Carvana buyer in their lane on a particular vehicle, they may as well go to the bathroom or go make a phone call or go do whatever because they're not going to get the car. So we know that they overbid for vehicles, overpay and overbid for vehicles. And competition is good and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but not when the competition is set up with a ringer in it. It's like we're going to have a game of, we're going to go have a game of pickup basketball or something. And all of a sudden you're going to have LeBron show up on your team just after you bet $100 on the game. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to be able, to do that. And guys, there's probably somebody from CarGurus who's watching or is going to be watching.
Oh, I promise you, we got CarGurus in the audience right now. Trust me,
someone's going to be watching. And guys, to do something like that, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it myself. That's absolute shenanigans, and that's biting the hand that feeds you. I understand that CarGurus is a business. I understand that they have investors. I understand that they have huge hedge funds that have dumped money in. I understand that Fidelity Investment Corp is the biggest investor in CarGurus and just happens to be the biggest investor in Carvana as well. I'm not saying anything is anything.
A lot of money in Carvana. I mean, who the founder is? Are you familiar with the background of Carvana?
No, Jim. Tell me.
Ernest Garcia II, billionaire. Now, this guy is a convicted criminal. I mean, not alleged. I mean, back in the Charles Keating savings and loan scandal, he was one of the key people back in the 80s, 90s, when the federal government shut him down and he turned evidence against Charles Keating. He testified against the boss to get off. Still convicted. So here we got a guy, and he also owns Drive Time.
Okay.
So if you want to Google up Ernest Garcia II and some of his other co-conspirators in that thing are also officers in that company, or at least one. I mean, these are not nice people. Drive Time has had numerous run-ins with the Federal Trade Commission for collection tactics. Are you looking at that now?
I'm looking it up right now.
Ernest Garcia II.
I'm looking
Charles Keating. Put Charles Keating in the same search.
I'm doing another search first because I had seen this earlier, but I just wanted to see who the top owners of Carvana is, and the top owner of Carvana is like I said before, Fidelity Management and Research Corporation. They own 5.8 million shares of Carvana, which 5.8 million shares equates to 11.6% of the total company. So now let's just see if everything you read on Facebook is true or not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who's the major investor in CarGurus. And the major investor in CarGurus is Fidelity Management and Research Corporation. They own 9,204,000 shares of CarGurus, which is a 10.07 stake.
Okay, so the largest investor in CarGurus is also the largest investor in Carvana. So there's a co-ownership there.
There's a co-ownership there, and they both owned over the Fidelity Management and Research Corporation owns over 10% of the, of both
Now,
companies.
how much does Mr. Ernest Garcia own?
Let's see.
It might be Ernesto. Frank's doing it. I'll sing some Johnny Cash while he's looking.
You can sing some. Here we go. The article in Forbes says how an ex-con became a billionaire from used cars.
How an ex-con? How do you be an ex-con? You're a con for life.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. That's it. That's the first thing that pops up. How an ex, and it's a Forbes article from December 18th, 2017. How an ex-con became a billionaire from used cars. And it says Garcia today. I'm quoting out of the article. I'm reading it directly. Today, Garcia operates Drive Time Automotive, the fourth biggest used car retailer in the country, and he is separately the biggest shareholder of Carvana, a used car e-commerce company with a hot stock. He borrows big money from the nation's largest bank, owns an apartment in Trump Tower, and has struck relationships with the likes of former U.S. President Dan Quayle, Mark Walter, blah, 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 blah.
So anyway, we're not talking about saints, nice people that are interested in the consumer and all the stuff you hear. We got a guy that was convicted as being part of a scheme to defraud millions of people, thousands of people. I don't know how many, out of their life savings and the savings and loan scandal that put Keating in prison, and the only way he skated out of that was to testify against the boss.
Well, the main, look, the main thing of it is, and honestly, Jim, like we both know this. Whoever owns the company is whoever owns the company. Whoever the major stockholders are, they are what they are, who they are, and you know what? God bless them that they can make all the money that they can. But as long as they're making it, delivering the product that they've sold to the dealer in the first place. That's really the main thing of this. I mean, taking leads that were generated off of vehicles that a dealer owns, that a dealer went and took money out of their own pocket to buy either as a trade-in or to go to an auction and purchase. However they acquired the car, they acquired it. They put money out of their pocket. They want to advertise that car at a profit. They pay money to a company to advertise it. And then when it's shown to a customer and a customer is interested in that vehicle and they submit an inquiry, they submit a lead on that vehicle, to take that customer's information and to give it to somebody else and say, hey, look, this guy just submitted the lead on a particular vehicle that ABC Motors in the middle of any town USA paid us to advertise. Hey, give me $2. And I don't know if it's $2, but hey, give me $2 and I'll give you their information and you can go after them too, because they're hot in the market. It's one thing when you're remarketing to a customer based on their behavior, when you're showing ads to a customer based on their behavior, but you do not know the customer's name, you don't have their contact information, you don't have anything like that. That's one thing. But when you take money from a dealer's pocket in exchange to advertise their vehicles online, to your audience that you've generated, and then you take that customer's personal information and you give it to another third party for them to go after the customer for whatever it is, and the dealer doesn't know that that's happening up front, that's just bad business.
What if I told you some of your web providers were doing that?
Jim, go into that then.
Tell you that some of your website providers were selling your data off of your website to third parties.
Now, what type of data are we talking about, Jim?
Okay, well, I'm talking about your customers that are hitting the website. I'm talking about. Okay, I just put a URL on the screen, ghostery.com. See that?
Yep, I see it.
Are you familiar with it?
No, Jim, explain what it does.
Ghostery is an app that goes on a desktop computer, like the one I'm talking to you on right now.
Right.
And it's Ghostery, like ghost, Ghost, Ghostery. Okay, Ghostery, when you put that app on your computer, it will show you any website that you visit with that computer. It will show you what tracking pixels are on that website, what information is being exported off of that website, and to who it's being exported to. Is that cool?
That's very cool. I'm installing it right now.
Okay, install it while you talk. Watch what pops up on your screen. It'll be a purple thing on the side to show you all the trackers, all the exports off that website. You can find, being in your business where you're consulting all these dealers on their marketing, that is an invaluable tool for you.
Yes. I would like to install it, and let's just go to CarGurus.com.
Uh-huh.
Let's go to CarGurus and let's just search for a vehicle. I mean, why not? Let's search for, I don't know, Jim, what do you want me to search for? Let's search for something that's very popular. So let's look for a Toyota.
Yeah.
Let's look for a RAV4.
Yeah.
I'll put in my own zip code.
There you go. See what you can do.
And let's hit search.
This ought to be good. Ghostery.com. Put it on your desktop computer, folks. It'll tell you.
So I've got it, and the ghost says there are 14 records here.
14 what?
There are 14. And
is it trackers and exports? Or who's it? And by the way, if you click on any one of those trackers, it'll tell you exactly what it does, where it goes, and what it's used for.
Okay, so this is the first time I'm looking at this. So you have to give me a little bit of you have to give me a little bit of grace over here. So it says there's 6 trackers, 4 trackers are blocked that you can't see. There's something called Crux Digital, Amazon Associates.
Okay, wait. It's importing that information to Amazon.
Yeah, I'm looking right at it. It says
they're selling information to Amazon. A lot of dealer websites are selling your information to Amazon, your customer information.
And let's see, it also says that it's going to something that's called, okay, so there's Google publisher tags,
some of these are good. Some of these are good.
Facebook custom audience, Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, scorecard research, and that's it. So that's on an SRP for used RAV4s close to my home in Freehold, New Jersey. Now let's try.
Go to a dealer's website. Go to one of your dealer's websites and see what information is coming off of that dealer website and where it's going.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Yeah, go to one of your dealer's websites and watch Ghostery tell you that whoever you paid to build the website for you is selling your information. Watch this.
Okay, so we've got 20. I'm on a dealership's website. We've got 20 records now.
Oh, 20.
And 20 records. And the 20 records has, I'll just read them right down. Google AdWords conversion.
That's good.
Double click ad exchange.
Double click is what?
Double click ad exchange bundle. Bing ads. Okay. Quantcast. I don't know what that is. Facebook. Quantcast helps create a more personalized digital world. We have some kind of shenanigans, right? Yes. We have built the world's most sophisticated data intelligence platform. Okay, very good. Let's keep going. We have something called Think Real Time. Google Tag Manager. Okay, now we've got dealer.com. That's who's hosting the website. We've got something that's called SOSTA M-Pulse, Performance Analytics and Smart Business. Okay, Google Analytics, Hotjar, Adobe Analytics, New Relic, and Facebook Connect. So definitely a lot of stuff on here. We may as well go to another one while we're here, right?
Yeah.
If people are interested in watching it, then I'll do another one live. Why not? Let me do one from a different website provider.
From a different provider. See, dealer.com doesn't have to. export a lot of your information. They just share it with the other Cox affiliates. Cox affiliates pass your information around. They have a right to do that in your end user agreement on everything you signed with them. So here you've got the Cox companies sharing your customer information with each other. They don't have to export it.
Okay, so here's another one. Amazon Ad Bundle is the first one. Speed Shift Media, DoubleClick Ad Exchange, Bing.
Ad Exchange. Ooh, what does that sound like to you?
Yeah, that's Google Display Network. Facebook Custom Audience, Think Real Time. I don't know what Think Real Time is, to be honest. Excelliate, Adobe Audience Manager, Google Translator, Google Tag Manager. Something that's called Signal Open Data Platform helps marketers collect data from any offline or online source, synchronize that data across.
That's the one.
Synchronize that data, across all consumer touch points and deliver it to any marketing or analytics endpoint in real time. The platform is an ecosystem neutral and helps data and marketing technologies work better together. Now, mind you that some ad guy jerk like me is the one who wrote this text that I'm reading to you, trying to make it sound very nice, but it's obviously not very nice. This is very simple, that they're taking all of the user data, like it says, and delivering it to other people who are subscribing to it at the same time.
User data and delivering it to some source unknown that they're exporting to.
Yep. Now this is a funny one. So Jim, here's a funny one. This website has 26 tracks on it right now, right? I am not on a dealer.com website. I'm on another company's website, but dealer.com has a tracker on that website. Google, dealer.com, something called Mux. I don't know what Mux is. I'm sure that there are people who are, who know exactly what all of this stuff is. And there's something called Vindigo Group, whatever that is. But this one alone has 26 different trackers on it.
Well, rather than spend a lot more time doing this, let's analyze what's happening here. What's happening here is I'd like every dealer to put Ghostery on your website, on your desktop. Take a look at your own website and make your programmers explain to you every single one of those things. Why is this here? How does it benefit me? What does it do? Where does the information go? And even if you have to bring in a third-party geek to analyze that for you and tell you the real story.
I think, how did it get there? How did it get there is definitely a question that should be asked, because, like, I'll give you an example. So when we start to work with a dealership at FB Digital, the only things that we're attaching to their website is code for a Facebook pixel, so we can remarket to visitors on their website, and a Google, and a Google tag, so that we can remarket to those people, and a Google Analytics tag, so that we can open a new backup analytics account, and Google Tag Manager. That's it.
Well,
That's
Frank,
it.
what you just showed me a minute ago, and it wasn't on the dealer.com site. Don't mention the other provider. But the second website that you showed me, that tag you just read, that export, that was stealing information off of that website. You know that, right?
That's what it looks like. I don't know what else that information would be on there for. It's very easy to understand that there would be Facebook. Yeah, some dealer is paying right now for that to go on. You know what I want to do as well? I want to do one more really quick. And what I want to do is I want to do a non-OEM mandated website. I want to do a dealer who's actually, who selected the website company on their own. So what I'll do is I'll do a group site that doesn't have any type of that doesn't have any type of OEM affiliation on it.
Now, a lot of these trackers that I have seen are right to the manufacturer who is remarketing to your customers their own product with other dealers.
Right. Okay, Jim. So I just did a group website for an FB Digital client, and that group website has 6 trackers on it, as opposed to 21, I think it was, right? That we just saw before. So this one has double click, Google Tag Manager. It has one from the website service provider, Google Analytics, another Google Analytics account, because I have one and the dealership has one. So that's obvious. So that's it. And Google Tag Manager. That's it. That's it. So Jim, should we think, let me close this window. So should we think that maybe the OEMs are in on this as well? And the OEMs are getting some kind of money back?
You should know without a shadow of a doubt the OEMs are in on it. And some of the co-op administrators are in on it. Don't, I know that sounds kind of shifty, but still, some of the co-op administrators are also involved in this. You follow
Jim,
what I'm saying?
I follow. Jim, I don't know if this is a road that I should go down, but it might be a good idea for dealers to start to think about if they're really concerned about the privacy, and if they're really concerned about their leads and their opportunities getting sold, getting resold right out from under their nose or something. It might be a good idea for dealers to start to think about a second website that has no OEM affiliation to it. And I know a lot of guys right now are saying, "Oh, Frank, 2 websites. We're going to go down that road again. I thought we were away from that. Oh my God, you're going to kill SEO. You're going to mess up SEO. You're going to do all this kind of stuff." But look, if you're concerned about the privacy of the information, of the opportunities that you're paying money to create on your own website, it might be a good idea. Maybe it's a good idea to think about it. Jim, what do you think?
Well, I have always been a skeptic of vendors that, and I can't say always. I was naive at one point, and then the fact that I talked to hundreds of dealers, if not thousands of dealers. And I've got a couple private groups that are through the roof with membership. I got 150,000 people on the social media that I communicate with on the keyboard or in some way, shape, or form. So, and they're all car people. They're all relevant. So I get a lot of information from a lot of different sources. Not because I'm so brilliant, but because I'm getting this information. Now, the Cox companies. Now we're talking about the Cox companies have one thing that nobody else has. They've got affiliate companies in virtually every aspect of data. Data comes in 3 flavors.
Jim, let me interrupt you, Jim. I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you. While you began talking, what I did was I ran two ghosteries, because we have a dealer partner that we have a General Motors dealer partner that has a CDK website and has a website on their own through another website service provider. The CDK website has 28 ghostery trackers. The website that we use as our primary website, that's through another website service provider, has 6. So 6 as opposed to 28. And the 28 has Amazon on there. That all kinds of shenanigans is on this.
Now, it was explained to me that Amazon is on a lot of these because they want Alexa or whatever the little robot is to be able to communicate with. That is such crap. But anyway.
I mean, there's got to be something in the fact that there's 26 on one of the 26 on an OEM site, and then on what I would call a cash site, because the dealer's paying cash for it out of their pocket. On the cash site, there's 6.
Now, let me tell you about the Cox thing.
Yes, go back to that. I'm sorry.
Cox has all these companies they own. They own DealerTrack. They own Dealer.com. They own VIN Solutions. They own vAuto. I mean, they own just about everything under the sun, right? Data comes in three flavors. Now, when I was going at it with TrueCar a couple years back, when the Federal Trade Commission came after me, I was angry that they were extracting so much data out of the dealer's DMS. You know, TrueCar was taking 32 fields of data, and they didn't need that much to identify the customer. They were taking excessive amounts. And then I found out that, lo and behold, J.D. Power and Associates was double crossing the dealers and supplying TrueCar with dealer data. I mean, TrueCar just was in cahoots, and they stopped doing that when all the scandal broke. But J.D. Power was taking information out of the dealer's DMS and swearing to God they would never share it with anybody, and they were selling it to TrueCar. You know, so now here we got three flavors of data. There's personally identifiable data, there's transactional data, and there's financial data. Those are the three forms of data that give you the whole customer picture: financial, transactional, and personally identifiable. And a lot of people say, well, our information is not personally identifiable. We don't know who these people are. Although there's technology now to put that on a consumer and they can identify them.
Yep, there is.
What's happening right now is when you sign an agreement with any one of the Cox companies, there's something called the EULA, the EULA, the End User License Agreement. Every contract has a EULA, EULA, End User License Agreement. Dealers need to look at the contract you signed with all your vendors and find the End User License Agreement, because that tells what that vendor can do with your data. Now, in the advent of Cox owns your data. They have words in there like we can repurpose it, we can reassemble it. So now they've got DealerTrack. DealerTrack is financially identifiable, right? DealerTrack.
Yep. Totally.
Okay. Then they got VIN Solutions. That's transactional. That tells you how much the customer paid, what kind of a deal they made, what interest rate they paid, everything. It tells you what
deal data is in there.
Transactional. And of course, they've got the DMS. They've got all of their vendors know who the customers are. So Cox Companies is one of the few companies that has the ability with their sister companies to put together a whole picture on your clients, how much they paid, where they live, what they bought, when their loan matures. They know everything about these people.
Yes.
And is that information being sold to third parties and fourth parties?
You know,
well,
it's not
Greater Detroit
Company.
If you look up Detroit Trading Company is the big broker exchange that sells and buys leads. You can Google up Detroit Trading Company, and leads are bought and sold by our vendors, our leads. That's why sometimes you get the same lead from three different vendors. They bought it from somebody like Detroit Trading Company or Detroit Trading Company. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I follow you.
There's a whole market, an underground market, selling your customer information that somebody stole from you. I'm not saying who stole it, but somebody stole it from the dealer, and you guys are letting it be stolen.
Yeah.
Leads have a known percentage of 2 to 18% closing. Remember, coffee is for closers.
Right.
The leads are bad.
Yep. The leads are bad.
Bad leads. There are leads that signed up to maybe win a car, and all of a sudden you're being sold that lead as if they want to buy a car. Right. They just signed up to win a car.
And you wonder why those leads close at 3%, right, Jim?
3%, 2%, 18%. You ever cancel a vendor and all of a sudden your leads start closing like hell? I mean, all of a sudden, I've never had this. As soon as you cancel a vendor, they'll pump a bunch of those 18% probability leads into your mix.
It's funny how that works, right?
They work, then they go back to the 2% mixed in. So
that's usually what happens when you stop buying leads from the OEM, when you stop buying the third-party leads from the factory. The day that the day that you call your rep and you say that you're going to stop buying, whether, it doesn't matter who the OEM is, because I've seen it happen with every single one. Once you cancel them, all of a sudden you start running it, and you start seeing all these leads come in for the remainder of your 30-day out that you're stuck in, and they all suddenly start closing like really good for some really, really odd reason. I mean, there's so many things, Jim. There's so many things that are bad with that and bad about that. I mean, let's just take the customer, for example, right? Let's just look at this from the customer's point of view. The customer enters to win a car somewhere, and then all of a sudden they start getting hit left and right with all of these, with all of these emails and text messages and all kinds of stuff from a car dealership, for example. It makes the car dealer look bad. It makes the guy who did the giveaway for the car look bad. It aggravates the customer. Look, you see this thing right now, Jim? You see this thing? This beautiful device that we all have, right? Most of us right now, when this thing rings, we're skeptical. Right now, when this thing rings, we look at the screen and we go, I don't know that number. I'm not answering it. And it could be, how many times, because of the amount of robocalls that we get on a daily basis right now, how many times do we not answer the phone and that call was actually a legitimate call, but because of the fact that we did not have the call, we did not have the number saved in our telephone, we don't answer it. It aggravates the hell out of each and every one of us every single day. And the huge majority of people that are watching this show right now are in sales, and they're making calls out every day to people, right? So if you have to think about it from the other side of the desk here, you're receiving robocalls on your phone all day long as well, right? So all it does is just reduce. All of this is bad for the end user. It's bad for the dealer. It's bad for everybody that's involved, except for Detroit Exchange Company. The company,
Detroit Trading Company, yeah.
Detroit Trading Company. I'm sorry, I wrote it down wrong. Excuse me, Detroit Exchange Company, whoever you are. We're not talking about you. Sorry, but Detroit Trading Company, and whomever it is that sold that sold the data to them in the first place. Those two guys are making a fortune. At the same time, everybody else all the way down the line is aggravated and won't answer their phone anymore. Like it's gotten to this type of an extent. Okay, I'm back. I don't know where Jim is though, but I'm back. Hey, let's take a look at some of these. Let's take a look.
I had to blow my nose, so I took myself off the screen for a second.
I knew it was something. I was going to start to read comments to fill in the time. I didn't know if you had to pee or if Miss Debbie was calling you or something, and you had to run off. No. You had to run off for a second. But hey, some of these comments are really good though. Cindy says, it's hard if you are in the BDC. People are scared to pick up the phone. Cindy, you're right. 87% of people right now are very unlikely, the study says, they're very unlikely to answer a call on their cell phone from a number that is not saved in their phone. I mean, 87%. So 13 out of 100 people that you call that do not know your number, that do not have their number saved, only 13 out of 100 of them are actually going to answer the phone. And when they do, they're going to be extremely apprehensive because they're expecting to hear somebody on the other line saying something like, Medicare open enrollment is now available. Press 1 to speak to a Medicare.
You know the one I really love the best?
Which one?
You get a call. Is Nancy there? Can I speak to Nancy? There's nobody named Nancy here. Oh, well, sir, since I've got you on the line.
Yeah, since I've got you on the line, let me talk to you about AARP benefits, right? Or your vehicle's warranty.
Benevolent fund,
Yeah. Look, there's another one, the vehicle warranty. I mean, everybody's vehicle is supposed, it must seem like everyone's vehicle is out of warranty right now because of the amount of calls that you get from the warranty companies. But
you get a call with a heavy accent. I mean, the guy's got a heavy accent.
Yeah.
Hello? My name is Bob. No, your name is not Bob. Your name is...
Hang up. Laura Hayes is on watching. Hey, Laura, what's going on?
I love Laura Hayes. What a beautiful woman.
She's absolutely fantastic.
Intelligent woman. Beautiful, intelligent, hardworking. I can't get great adjectives for Laura. Joe Kasser, one of my friends, Michelle McLean's out there, Keith Shetterly, Scott Simmons. Oh, boy. Oh, wow.
Tim Hollyfield is here. Mike Huff. Randy Tucker says this might sound like a goofy question, but wonder if there's any language in contract with the dealer that would give any of these companies you're referring that gives them the permission to use a lead at their discretion without being very definitive. I mean, Randy, Jim brought that up before, and how a lot of the user agreements say that the information from your website can be repurposed or redistributed to other people, and that's exactly how we did how it's done. When you look at that Ghostly tool is really good. Everybody, you really should put that on your
Ghostery is absolutely incredible.
Ghostery is great. From what I'm seeing, it's really good. You know what? To be honest, I think that's something that should be used. It has a lot of uses for it. You could be on a website.
I've got another one on the screen right now, Frank.
Which one?
SpyFu. SpyFu.com. Now this is like Kung Fu, only it's SpyFu.
What does this one do, Jim? Same type of thing?
SpyFu, you can, once you download the app on your desktop, you can put any website address in it. Start with your own website, and it'll show you how well your Google Analytics your Google AdWords are working, what competitors are infringing on your market online with organic and paid. It'll show you a comparison, organic. It'll show you which one of your competitors are outperforming you, what AdWords they're using to outperform you, what their keywords are. It'll show you it'll show you a complete analysis of your online marketing and how effective it is or how not effective it is. And then you can put your competitor's website in there and it'll show you how to beat them.
Very nice. That's obviously a very, very good. This is a very, very good tool as well. This I've been on before because as soon as I went to go and put one of our dealer partners' websites in here, it automatically filled for me. So I've definitely
you've been there because I showed it to you last year at Internet Battle Plan.
I like how, Jim, your memory is so much better than mine. Obviously those 31 shows at NADA, I'm still recuperating. I
showed you this last year. That's why you remember it.
That's why I remember it. Yeah.
We were sitting at my laptop at the back of the room, and then you went and did it with your stuff. Remember?
Yeah. Yep. I do remember. I
showed it to you last year. SpyFu is absolutely incredible if you want to improve. One of my dealers, Chuck Urban at Tallahassee Dodge, I showed him SpyFu. It came in the next day all bleary-eyed. He said, Jim, I spent 10 hours yesterday evening on SpyFu. He said, analyzing what I need to do to beat the competitors. He said, Jim, the free version is more than enough, but I went ahead and was stupid enough to put the $25 a month in there for the paid version. And it blew my mind it just told me how to tweak my Google spend and, just all sorts of things I could do. Okay. Now, if your competitor has a high performing word that they're buying, how does that work? How does that work?
What's my advice on that, you mean?
I mean, if your competitor has a word, how much are they paying for that word?
I already closed the window. I'm sorry. You want me to put
just make up a number.
How
much?
Let's
how
say
much they paying for?
Say
how much they paying for? Okay, paying $5 a click, and that word is performing super, super well. How do you take that word away from them? If you know they're paying $5,
do you have to bid $6?
Could you bet $5.05?
You could bet. You could bid $5.05. I would bid $6, and make sure that you take it away from them. And obviously, it also depends on the word as well. It depends on the word. Could be some words that,
or phrase,
or a phrase. There could be some that just don't.
SpyFu will show you approximately pretty close to what they're spending on that word or that phrase, and you can outbid them and take it away from them if it's super performing.
Jim, you know what? I think I have a hunch on what everybody who's watching, I'm having a hunch on what it is that they would like to hear out of both of us. So I'm going to ask you the question, Jim. What is your recommendation for dealers to do with these third-party inventory listing websites? Should they stop, rip their money right out of them?
I'm not going to tell you to cancel anybody. I'm not going to tell you not to cancel anybody. I got in trouble for that with TrueCar a couple of years ago. They said I was organizing a national boycott, and it cost me $50,000 to get out of that. So I'm not telling you to boycott anybody. I wouldn't do that. Use your own judgment. What I will tell you is to know what you're spending. I'm going to tell dealers to start to control your own destiny. Hire a company to do your media marketing for you. Hire a company. Social is outperforming Google tremendously right now. Facebook is on fire. If you're not advertising on social media, I know I'm not going to say cancel, but you could greatly reduce your third-party spend and take it over yourself with a good agency. And somebody you can trust, somebody that's on your side. And you got to own Google My Business. You've got to absolutely be all over Google My Business. You've got to own your own property. So many dealers don't even own their own property. That just blows my mind. There's so many dealers out there that haven't got a clue. Their vendors own their property. They own all their passwords. They own everything.
Right.
I'm just looking at some of. Go ahead.
Jim, I've seen this happen many times when a dealer wants to become a client of ours, and and we take them on and we start to dig into their whole digital footprint, and we find that the dealer doesn't have logins or passwords, or the logins and passwords that they have are not ownership of their. We had one 2 weeks ago where the dealer didn't own their own Google My Business listing.
And so many dealers are just coasting on, and so many dealers are so illiterate as to what this is that dealer. Yeah, here they come. There they are, right there.
Our dealership is doing just fine. And look, I understand. I completely understand that running a dealership, if you work 120 hours running an automobile dealership today, you're working part-time. Right? Like, I totally understand that there is so much going on. I totally understand that, you're wearing so many different hats, and it's very possible that your Google My Business listing is something that you're not exactly worried about it all day long, every single day. I totally get that. But there does have to be a point in time when you do have to look into it at least once in your life. You got to look into this, and you do have to make sure that you have ownership at a minimum of your Google My Business account, of your Facebook page, you know, your Google My Business, your Facebook page, all of your social media accounts. You should absolutely make sure that you have ownership of these things. And if you're with a partner right now that you trust and you have this beautiful relationship, all lovey-dovey, every time you get together, you hug and kiss and all that stuff, that's great. Ask them to put all those accounts in your name, in your ownership, because you may love your partner. Look, and I've got dealers that I've been working with 20 plus years, right? But at the same time, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And all those passwords and all that stuff, they would have to scramble to try to get them and to try to get ownership. Not that anybody else in the company would take them, but it's just a point that you should have your ducks in a row and have your stuff all straight and make sure that you have ownership of all of these, of these key critical things. What Jim was saying before is 100% true. Social media is getting stronger and stronger by the minute. At a minimum, friends, you should be investing money in Facebook remarketing. Any type of remarketing that you can do, whether it's Google remarketing, Facebook remarketing, you should be doing it. You're already paying money in marketing and advertising to get visitors onto your website. You need to make sure that you stay in front of them after you've invested the money into getting them on there. To not remarket to them is absolutely foolish. And it's pennies on the dollar right now. It's extremely inexpensive. You should absolutely be doing that. Have control of your Google My Business listing, have ownership of it, have ownership of all your social media accounts and all your social media pages. And, I'm going to say the exact same thing. I'm going to parrot what Jim said, and I'm not going to tell anybody that there should be some type of a boycott on any service provider whatsoever or any inventory listing website whatsoever, but take a really good look at your inventory mix. Take a good look at your market. There are many dealers that can advertise their used inventory depending on what their mix of used inventory is. They can advertise it very, very successfully on Google on their own. There's other stores where the inventory mix would benefit a Cars.com, an Auto Trader, a CarGurus, but just know who it is that you're getting in bed with when it comes to these, when it comes to the providers. Every dog has fleas. Pick the one with the least amount of fleas so that you don't catch fleas yourself. That's an old quote from Wall Street. Do you remember the movie Wall Street, Jim?
I do remember the movie Wall Street. Well, listen, big guy, we've been an hour and a half.
You know what? It's past my bedtime, Jim.
It's real well. At my age, it really. I put a picture of our families when we had dinner 2 years ago down in Florida.
Yes, look at that. I'm a little heftier in that picture.
I've got this cancer that I'm dealing with right now, and I've lost 50 pounds. So you look at me in the picture and look at me now. Just
Jim,
you're anorexic.
Jim, you're just as handsome. You're just as handsome in both of those pictures. You're just as healthy in both of those pictures. And there are going to be many, many, many more pictures of you in the future, my friend. And
there's both of us with our trophy wives, and your great son Preston's in the picture.
That's right. He's back there. You told him a lot of jokes that day. You remember?
Yeah, but see, I love kids. I love kids, and kids relate to me. I mean, kids absolutely relate to me, because I play with kids, I've become one of them, or maybe I already was one of them.
I think you always were and always will be one of them, Jim. I think that's the case. And what I'm going to say, son, a lot of people think that, a lot of people have a wrong impression of Jim. They have an impression that he's this big burly guy and no nonsense and all this kind of stuff. And I watched Jim play with my son Preston. After we had lunch, when we went back to Jim's house, the two of them played together for a good hour and a half, right, Jim?
Easily.
The two of them. Go ahead.
easily. I mean, we just ignored the adults.
Yeah, you totally ignored the two of them totally ignored the adults. Jim had an app on his telephone where you would take a picture of somebody and then you would replace their face onto another body. And the two of them were passing the phone back and forth. Preston and Jim were passing the phone back and forth to each other, taking these pictures. And Preston was putting Jim's head on like a ballerina's body and all this type of stuff. And the two of them, like, all out belly laughing for a good hour. I mean, it was like two 9-year-olds together, at that time. So don't let Jim fool you. He's got a heart of gold. He loves to play. He loves to joke around, and he loves kids. So don't take that brash, that brashness too seriously in him. He's a big softy over there.
Well, what the heck? I mean, I was in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but I lost.
Jim, it's past my bedtime. I got to get my beauty sleep, man.
Okay, well, listen, big guy. I think this has been an astounding show. We'll get the replays up, and I don't know how the replays are going to, but we've had as many as 10,000 views on my replays recently.
Well, I'll be sharing it out. Hey, if you're watching live right now, or if you're watching on the replay, hit the share button right now. Dealers need to know, managers need to know, they need to know what's going on. They need to be in the loop on this. One of us will put up the link to the CarGurus press conference or webinar or whatever it is that they're doing tomorrow. I'm sure right now there's a bunch of speechwriters and stuff sitting down trying to figure out what the hell to say.
They're watching this broadcast, believe me.
Yeah, well, good. You know what, guys, watch this broadcast and understand that you have, in a way, you have bit the hand that feeds you, and the dealers who have been giving, have been paying their bills every single month for you to display their vehicles. They're not happy right now. That you've seen a whole bunch of cancellations come through in the last week or so. This was buzzing all around at NADA. There's people out there with videos of what actually happens. Guys, do the right thing. Do the stand-up thing. I don't know how to fix this. I'm not a Fidelity Investment Corp type of guy. I'm a boots on the ground, work with my clients, work with my dealers, educate my people, educate salespeople. That's my game. Your game is the big money stuff. Figure it out, fix this crap, make it right, and make it so that dealers can get in touch with customers can get in touch with good dealers, and the industry can thrive and survive on for many, many years to come. Just do the right thing, guys. I'm sure you know what to do. You're
Frank,
a lot smarter than us.
We need to get back to our families. This has been a great show. I usually don't do an evening show, but thank you very, very much, big guy.
Thank you, my friend. We've
been on 87 minutes.
That's all that singing you did in the beginning, Jim. Okay, I got to
keep a close watch on this heart of mine.
There he goes.
I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind, because you're mine. I walk the line.
Lisa Copeland's watching now at the end. See you later.